sometimes go to your photographs, your pictures, your postings and see how many likes you got?
Never.
Hearts? Never, never. And do you sometimes get notifications which say, this post is doing so well, you got so many likes, and so, do you get that too?
Yes.
I got one of those this morning. I got a very special one this morning. And why it's so special, I'll tell you in a minute. But 2 years ago, this is almost the exact anniversary of my mother's death. Now, I don't want any of you to look sad, because when you get to the age of 74, which I was at the time, you actually are quite glad when you have your life, the remainder of your life, to yourself, and you don't have to be bothering about signing stuff for your mother, and so on and so forth. She had been in a home in London for about 10 years, and they called me up one morning and said, we think she needs to go into hospital. Is that okay? I said, yes, but no tubes. We had all agreed on that. And I called my brother in California and I said, you know, Nick, I've got this feeling we should go home. We should meet in London, and just to be there and find out what's going on, and she's in hospital and so on and so forth. So we met in London, and she had already been in the hospital for 2 days by the time we got there, so she was no longer conscious, and the people who'd been looking after her in the home were very, very upset. Maybe I should explain that she was a highly traumatized person, severely, and growing up with a traumatized person does not make it easy to have a good relationship with them. But after she moved into the home where she was so well looked after, and everything was warm and cozy, and she got fed every day, she relaxed, and my brother and I had this amazing opportunity, for which I'll be grateful for the rest of my life, which was to meet the woman who had always been in there all the time, but protected by so much armor that we never got to know her. So she didn't know us anymore, but that didn't matter. She was happy, she was smiling every time we visited her. Her face would light up, big grin from ear to ear, and she was just happy that there were people there visiting her. So when she went into hospital, the people in the home, her carers, were extremely upset. They had this feeling that she would be coming home again, but I took one look at her. I felt, I don't think she's going anywhere else. I think this is it. And if any of you have been with people who are dying, there is this moment when you just know the energy is gone. The life, the will to live has gone. And I had wondered for many years, will she allow me to be there when she goes? Because she was a very, very tough woman, and she wanted to do everything on her own. And I didn't know whether I wanted to be there. I had no idea. So on the third or fourth day, my brother and I said we'd meet at 3 o'clock and go up to the ward. I got there early, and it was bitterly cold, so I just went up on my own, and her head was flopped to one side. And she was so tiny. She was as tiny as a large baby, quite strange. And for the first time in my life, I was able to touch her, feeling good about it. So I stroked her hair a bit. She had beautiful hair. And I put my hand on her breastbone, and she took a breath. And then nothing for about 30 seconds. And I kept waiting. And I don't know, I didn't know anything about dying people. I just had this feeling, these are the last breaths. So I tapped her gently on the breastbone and said, Mommy, it's okay for you to go. For me, it's completely okay, and I love you, and you've done everything that any human being could possibly have done. But could you stay here just about a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes longer, until Nicky gets here, because I think he would love to see you just one more time before you go. And then I felt that at that moment, the nurse came in. Everything okay? And I said, I think she's going. And the nurse rushed into the room, put her head up straight, put the pillows all around her so she would, and grabbed the oxygen mask, rammed it on her nose, and my mother, her eyes shot open, just pupil, no iris, no white, completely black. And I don't know whether she looked at me, maybe she did, but I'm sure she couldn't see me, there was no focus left. But I will never forget the expression on my face, on her face, not mine, I don't know what mine was like. The expression on her face was something like, what the bloody hell am I doing back here? Would you please stop interfering in my death? My brother arrived. She didn't open her eyes again, but he saw her breathing. I told him about the incident, and he was happy that she was still breathing when he arrived. So we talked to the doctor, you know, what do we do? Well, we could get her a place in the hospice, but that always takes about 3 weeks, and I didn't feel she was going to last more than a few days. My brother still had this, maybe we can just sort of keep her going. I don't know what he wanted to keep her going for, but that's what he wanted. We spoke to the doctor, we were all around her bed, and I know she heard everything. But all I can say is, they do. They're not gone. They're just leaving their body, but they're not gone, and they can hear everything. So the alternatives were a hospice. She couldn't really stay in the hospital because they didn't have the facilities to look after. It wasn't a hospice station. And the alternative, going back to the home, well, it would have cost thousands because we would have had to have all kinds of machinery and 24-hour nursing service. And we didn't know how we would be able to afford that. So we talked about it for a bit, and then we said thank you to the doctor. We left the hospital. There was a cafe across the road where they have all biologically sound food and wonderful things. And the cafe was called Karma. Those of you who are linked with me on Facebook, how many of you are actually linked with me on Facebook? I know we're linked, and I know we are, but I don't think we were. I actually posted a photo of me in front of this cafe because it was such a, just the right name for a hospital, for a cafe opposite a hospital. So we sat and talked, and we both agreed that actually we would be happy if she could go because all the other alternatives were so complicated. And the one question which I had asked the doctor, what happens if we find a hospice place for her, but she dies during transport between the hospital and the hospice? And he said, that is our worst nightmare. Because there are thousands of bits of paper and things to do, because it's all a question of who's responsible. And I said, you know, if we sign something now that you're not, no, it doesn't work that way. So we sat there, my brother and I, and we said, well, wouldn't it be wonderful if she could just go peacefully without all this palaver? So we went our ways. We weren't staying in the same place. And I returned to Munich the next day, slept overnight, and my brother stayed a day longer. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from London. Hello, is that Naomi? I said, yes. I was sorry to tell you that your mother just passed on. And I know she understands this, and I know you will. I let out a yelp of joy. I was so happy that she'd heard everything we said, that she'd made her decision to make life easy for everybody, particularly for herself, which is something that she'd never done all her life, to make life easy for herself. And that was 2 o'clock, so I phoned my brother, then it was 3 o'clock, and I had made a breakfast appointment with a dear friend, English guy, and I was feeling chilly. You know how it is when you're not really happy, you've been up all night, and so I was feeling shivery, and I thought, God, I know it may be summer, but I need a pullover. So I grabbed the first pullover, this one. And I thought, Mommy, I know you're going to understand this. And I put on these trousers. And I realized, standing here at this moment, that this was not a conscious decision to put them on today. I knew what I was going to talk about, but for me, it's chance that I'm wearing the same things. And I don't wear jewelry, but I have found a ring, a plastic ring with a big red bauble on it, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to celebrate. So I went to breakfast, said to Eric, we're celebrating. 2 glasses of champagne. We're drinking to the death of my mother. So what's all this got to do with Facebook? Well, this morning I got one of those notifications. Some of your pictures have earned you 5,000 hearts. Wow. 5,000 times people have clicked a heart on one of my pictures. That's rather nice. It's heartwarming. So I clicked on to see which pictures they were and who'd been clicking. Guess who got the most hearts on any of the pictures? It was my mother.